1. What's up, everybody? It is Friday, and we had some technical difficulties, but we're back now with Evan Silva and Davis Maddock. Dan Gasper, Mr. Total 05, our normal Friday guest, is not going to be with us today, so it's just the three of us, guys. Evan, how are you today?
I'm doing real well, ready to fade the heck out of Niall Davis Maddox's love child.
Evan, man. I try and help you. I try and tell you what's up with all these players. I try and tell you about the matchups, and you come at me and you tell me you're not playing Niall Davis. It's disappointing, frankly, to be quite honest.
So, I mean, obviously, the big elephant in the room is this Jamal Charles thing. If he doesn't go, then I don't think that Niall's going to be a bust. But are you saying that even if Charles doesn't go, Evan, that you think he's going to be a bust?
Yeah,
I
do.
Oh, boy.
I do, man.
Someone's going out on a limb.
I know, but I am starting him in the one spot where I have him. But just because it's a safe play, I happen to be facing a team that is really bad. And I view Niall Davis as a safe play because I think that he would get a heavy workload. But I mean, against that Dolphins D-line, which aside from a 47-yard run by C.J. Spiller last week, held the Bills to 2.1 yards a carry. They blanked out Fred Jackson. They blanked out Stephen Ridley in the first game. The Dolphins' D-line is nasty, and the Chiefs' O-line is bad. And this is a game in Miami where game flow could also come into play as a worry for Niall Davis. I would fade him in tournaments because I know that he will probably be heavily owned if it looks by Sunday like he's going to start. But yeah, I mean, especially with this Jamal Charles coming back and practicing, it's concerning. It's definitely concerning.
Their defensive line got better too today because all the NFL Players Association stuff came through, and Deion Jordan is going to be back and active for them on Sunday. So I said that in my write-up. I was like, it's not a super optimal situation, but what you're hoping for is that the Chiefs continue to feed him when they're down in the game like they did last week against Denver, and that Ryan Tannehill is Ryan Tannehill and is therefore not very good at football and can't extend the lead the way, Peyton Manning can. I do think that if Charles is if we know at, 10 o'clock that morning, we get a bunch of reports that are like, yeah, man, Charles he's not going to go. They're going to hold him out a week, let his ankle get better, not risk re-injury. I think I'm locking Niall in for cash games regardless.
Yeah, I think if Charles doesn't go, then I think Niall is a safe option. But there are a few safe options, I feel like. Kyrie Robinson is another safe option that, Davis, you're not too high on, even though you like touchdowns. It's like you don't like Kyrie. And I think that he is a safe option for cheap. And I want to get your take on why you don't like him.
Just because I think that the Saints rushing game is always a little bit overrated anyway. Ingram was good for these first 2 weeks, but I mean, if we're just looking at straight pedigree, Ingram is a better player than Kyrie Robinson. I know he was sort of a bust for his first couple of years in the league, but I don't know if it was a bust out of not being that good or a bust out of not being used that much. And I think that, and this is something that is really key in daily fantasy football, is you can't leave yourself at the mercy of the coaches. And that's what you're doing with Kyrie Robinson. You're basically saying, super hope that he gets his touchdown early when the score is reasonable and that they just don't do a play action and Jimmy Graham converts it. If you play Kyrie Robinson, your butthole is going to be tightened up watching them in the red zone in the first half.
Nice, Davis. Awesome.
It's totally true.
Well said. Well said.
And I don't want to be waiting on that. I want to know that my guy, whether it be DeMarco Murray or Terrence West or Arian Foster, I want to know that he is the guy when they want to run the football. Pierre Thomas is not done playing football. He's still good. They still use him on passing downs a lot. And those passing downs are what's really valuable in that Saints offense, if you historically look at the way their offense has gone, it's the pass catching backs who have provided the fantasy value, not the guys who get the carries.
Yeah, and the devil's advocate argument against what Davis said, which is all true, and it's definitely something that you have to consider, is that the Saints are favored by 10. And they're probably going to smoke the Vikings at home. They opened the season with 2 road losses, close losses, and they're gonna go nuts.
They're gonna go nuts. They have the highest Vegas team total. So, if you do want to play Kerry Robinson, that's why you want to do it. So this is something I noticed when I was looking at lineups today and just sort of playing with stuff. So last week, the hot guy was Terrence West. That was the guy everyone wanted to play because Ben Tate got hurt, and Terrence West was really good the week before. And now, because we have a bunch of other running back injuries to focus on, we're looking at a bunch of new backup running backs that we want to play in daily fantasy. But I mean, Terrence West is really good. And he, for all intents and purposes, is sort of their bell cow. Even against Baltimore, I kind of like him for 5,800 on FanDuel. What do you think about that, Evan? Am I way off there?
No. It makes sense. The logic behind it makes sense. I'm just going elsewhere. I'm going with Kyrie. I like to live on the edge. I'm going with Jeremy Hill.
Jeremy Hill's a good one.
Davis, that dude went in the 10th round of redrafts. This guy's going to be a
that was dumb.
He's going to be a beast.
I got
all
him.
All year long. He's an RB2 right now. If something happens to Gio, he's a top 7 RB1. And if they keep giving Gio 27 carries a game, something's going to happen to Gio. If I'm a Jeremy Hill owner, I'm kind of rooting for them to keep giving him that kind of workload. I think Jeremy Hill is going to be a monster this week and going forward. He's only 4,900 on FanDuel. Those are my RBs this week. Kyrie and Jeremy Hill, baby. Let's go. Let's eat.
Jeremy Hill is he's definitely like a cheap option. So if you had to choose between Kyrie and Hill, Davis, I'm guessing you would take Hill.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with Evan here. So, I was a big fan before the season started. Obviously, week 1 kind of sucked because he only got 4 carries, and they were like, what's up? And the coach, Hugh Jackson, specifically after the game, the offensive coordinator was like, that's not ever going to happen again.
Yeah.
And, we saw it right away. In Tennessee, Dave, terrible. They're a terrible football team.
Oh, I know that. And they're small. Their linebackers are small. They're going to get just run over. And, yeah, I mean, I'm a big Hill believer. We saw what he did last year.
I'm getting excited, man. I'm getting excited.
Oh, nice. We saw what he did last year and with LSU. And, listen, I only did 2 redrafts because I'm all about the daily fantasy. But I only did 2 redrafts, but I got him along with Gio. So, you both were on Hill, and I was like, all right, I got to get that. And then... So it was a really good pick by both of you in the preseason. And then Evan suggested Ruben Randall, and I got him, and he's been a little bit meh. I mean, I'm not going to lie, he's been meh for me. And then Davis also suggested reaching for Bishop Sankey, and that has been womp.
Just how many teams have relied on Sean Green and lived to tell the tale? None. That is the answer. He had 1 good playoff game against the Steelers, who we didn't know at the time were terrible, but we know now that they were terrible then. Well, so that's my explanation for that.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. But I want to ask about another cheap running back this week. I think he's 3,500 on DraftKings, and where there's an extra flex spot this year. It's a very valuable spot. Donald Brown expected to take over the workload for Ryan Matthews, not giving additional touches to Woodhead. Am I wrong on that, Evan?
The game scares me here. The game scares me because the Chiefs are coming off, or the Chargers are coming off a huge win against Seattle, traveling cross country to Buffalo for a 1 p.m. Eastern time game. I actually think the Bills might win this game and start 3-0. I'm not real excited.
I hope not.
Yeah,
I don't like the Bills.
I'm not investing daily fantasy starts in the Chargers pretty much at all. I mean, Gates makes some sense. Keenan Allen to a lesser extent, although he's listed as questionable. But I'm not messing around with this game pretty much.
I'm not either, and I think I want to get your take because you'll be way more level-headed about it. What do you think about Watkins this week? I mean, he's cheap and he's seeing a ton of the passing volume for Buffalo, and the San Diego corners are bad.
Exactly. I mean, that's all you got to know. That's all you got to know.
Yeah, the other side of that, I will say, is that if both of these teams get their way, there will be less than 90 plays ran from scrimmage in this game. Because San Diego is like the king of the 8-minute touchdown drive, and I mean Buffalo last year they had the third heaviest pass to run ratio or run to pass ratio, and I believe this year they are the heaviest, like the most run heavy team in football thus far. So I don't necessarily think we see a ton of targets for either Keenan Allen or Sammy Watkins in this game.
So at 3,500 though, you're talking about just small opportunity cost there that can let you have a lot of good stuff. So we'll see. I mean, honestly this week running backs and wide receivers are kind of gross.
They definitely are kind of gross. There's some cheap guys I do actually legitimately like though.
Oh, legitimately?
Yeah.
Or illegitimately?
No, like legit, not like I like him because he's cheap, but just because I like them because they're in good spots.
You're not gonna say Stephen?
Because they're big.
Well, they are. Some of them are big. Is Allen Robinson big?
Yeah.
I like Allen Robinson.
And you know why he's really big? Because he plays big. Because he's got a 42-inch vertical.
Yeah, he's a huge dude. I knew he was big. I was being coy.
He's 6'3" and he plays about 6'9".
Yeah, he's awesome. And then what do you think about Brian Quick versus Claiborne?
It's interesting. It's just, recency bias comes into play a little bit here because Justin Hunter failed us last week.
Yep, he did. He really did, Evan.
Yeah, he really did. And I don't know. I mean, is Brian Quick a good start against Dallas? In theory. Is your decision-making process solid here? Yes. But
yeah, in theory, it's super great until you're playing Brian Quick for in your daily fantasy lineups. That's exactly the rub there, right? Is you're like, oh yeah, he's seeing 27% of the targets. It's against Dallas. They're terrible, and then you're like, oh my god, I have Brian Quick in my head-to-head lineups. I'm screwed. It's Brian Quick.
I think it's a lot more. I think it's scarier when you talk about a half-point PPR site, like a FanDuel, where you've got three options there at wide receiver, and you've got to make them count. So Golden Tate, I think, is a low-salary guy that I would target as well as Calvin. The game is going to be insane. Also, you've got Jordy Nelson, who's going to get all the targets along with Randall Cobb. This game is just going to be chock full of fantasy points, or at least so we hope. Evan, I want to get your in-depth analysis on it.
Yeah, I mean, 53-point over/under. I like Joe Week this week. I don't think Reggie Bush is a bad play. Golden Tate costs nothing. I mean, I looked at his salary on FanDuel. I think it was $5,200. Calvin Johnson owns Dom Capers, owns his soul, and that's important to me. Calvin Johnson is in all. I mean, I'm paying up for wideouts this week. If you couldn't already tell, I'm paying up for Jimmy Graham. I'm paying up for Drew Brees, and I'm starting cheap running backs. I don't do that every week, but I feel like that's my best way to go this week. And Calvin, Jordy, ballers, man. And Golden Tate if you want to save some money.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is completely a week where I could see myself going, Kiri Robinson, Terrence West, something like that at running back, just so I can get the safety of I'm going to get all those targets with Calvin and Jordy. There's no way those dudes don't have reasonable days for your cash game lineups. There's just no way.
Hey, and you know who's interesting at I think his minimum cost is Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not a safe play necessarily, but if you're trying to, bang a punt, Devontae Adams looks like the Packers' third receiver right now. This game has the highest over/under of week 3, and I think he's a great play in tournaments.
Yeah, I think he's a great play too. Boykin is just bad. Like, he's not a good football player, and the Packers staff realized that, like, sooner rather than later. I actually think Janis is going to take over Boykin's wide receiver 4 job by, like, week 9 or 10. Because he's so bad, dude.
Oh, you do? Oh, you think...
I mean, if you watch the coaches tape, if you watch the All-22, I mean, Boykin is never open. He's just never open, dude. Like,
Yeah.
he is just not quick enough in space to shake anybody.
You like Jeff Janis,
I think Janis is actually going to start threatening Jordy snaps.
Well, I mean, soon. Like, week 13, maybe. But, like, come on. Let's be reasonable here.
All right.
Be reasonable here, Evan.
Let's talk about the other that other high-scoring game with Drew Brees and the Saints offense. We had a question from Max about how we feel about Colson this week. Obviously, a huge bust last week. I mean, not even a target, or as Davis says, a target. So Davis does speak fluent French, as he told JJ, aka late round QB, and I yesterday. So not even a target last week. Thoughts on Colson? Avoid, or like, is he Evan? If you, gun to your head, if you had to put him in your cash lineup, would you or no?
No.
Okay.
But I would never put Marcus Colson in my cash lineup.
Boom.
And it's not because of last week. You know, it's just because the way the Saints do things. The Browns last week played coverage. I mean, they dropped 7 guys into coverage all game. And Brandon Cooks didn't do much either. And Kenny Stills had like 3 for 20. And Jimmy Graham, went nuts. So it's not like Marcus Colson all of a sudden sucks, but I just, he's not a great daily guy for me.
No, I like Cooks because like Cooks has that safety of he gets the short passes around the line of scrimmage, they get him in space, and then he also gets several carries a game, which is like that doesn't sound like much, but if he gets 20 yards on those carries, that's a nice little 2-point bonus that you get there. Absolutely. That you're not getting with anyone else on that team. And like for me, yeah, you never play Colson in cash games, especially now that he's a little bit older, he's a little bit slower, and he's not the second best player on that team anymore, or second best pass catcher. It's Cooks. Like Cooks is a better player than him. Sproles was always good, but I don't know if you could say definitively that he was better or more important to that offense than Colston. But I think Cooks definitely is. Like I love Cooks for 6,300 this week on FanDuel.
Silva, is Graham going to eat or not this week?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I really think all the Saints are going to eat. I mean, I know that we just kind of threw negative salt on Marcus Colston, but I really think that this offense is just going to go bananas.
They have
every arrow is pointing that way. Yeah.
Yeah, like 30.5 is nuts. Like that is so high. We might as well have the conversation now. If you're not using Drew Brees in your lineups, like just like give up.
That's not. I don't think it's true. I don't think it's Drew Brees or nothing.
Oh, I do.
Because you've got Stafford as well. And, I just don't think it's that cut and dry. I think you got Stafford, and even, like, maybe not as much, but if you wanted to play Aaron Rodgers, he's, like, just below that tier of Brees and Stafford. The problem is they're a little bit, like, they're close in range. But, Evan, I want to get your take on the game flow of this. Like, you think that it's possible that New Orleans gets up big early, and so we only see like 2 touchdowns out of Brees?
I mean, I guess that's possible, but
I
really just think they're going to score 40. So I'm not like overanalyzing it. And I agree with you on Matthew Stafford and Aaron Rodgers. They're in the mix. I considered them in my lineups, but I circled back. I got Brees and Graham in all of them. So that's how I'm doing things this week.
Yeah. Evan knows what's up. Like the Saints and Sean Payton specifically, they love a good butt whooping. Like if you just want to go back and look at games where they've won by a bunch historically, it's not because they had a bunch of short rushing touchdowns. It's because they do things like when Brees was about to break the yardage record, they left him in there up 30 against Atlanta, hucking passes down the field to Jimmy Graham. Like, there's no, and Denver does it the same way. And those are the guys you want for fantasy. Is you want the teams that are trying to score points until the clock stops, which is exactly what Denver does, and New Orleans as well. So like, I feel like it's going to be sort of a trendy thing to say this week that like, you know, Stafford and Rodgers are like good arbitrage plays, or like especially in GPPs on Drew Brees. But you won't find a projection system in the world that'll agree with you. Like Brees is just is the better play, like in terms of probabilities.
Yeah, I mean he's got 5 TD potential.
Yeah.
And I really don't want to jinx him, but he's got 5 TD potential.
All right, let's talk about the next game with Philly and Washington. You got Foles, who I don't think is ever really a bad play. Maybe not in that top tier, and his price is somewhat high. But you've got Darren Sproles, who's, because some of these, here's what for those like that are kind of new to daily fantasy, here's what these daily fantasy sites do, like DraftKings and FanDuel. Usually what they'll do is they'll come out with these salaries early, like before all the games are out. And so that means that like they'll come out with salaries Monday, early Monday. And so if something happens in that game, you're not going to get made in those salaries. So that's what we see with Darren Sproles. And I feel like he is like a lock on a PPR site like DraftKings. Davis, thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know how you could call him a lock. Like, he doesn't play that many snaps. He doesn't get that. He has to get a long touchdown or he'll bust. So
you think at his price tag on DraftKings?
I mean, I just like I know.
I just don't understand how you say he's got to get a long touchdown on DK.
Like,
or else
yeah,
it's a bust.
what's his exact price tag? Like, I haven't even looked at him because he's not like a type of player that I would sort of ever roster.
He is let's see, pulling it up, 5,200.
Yeah, then no way. Give me Jeremy Hill for a significant proportion less than that. Like
all right, Evan, you weigh in. You be the judge. You be the judge here.
I'm on Davis' side, Dave. I'm sorry, man. No, I mean, there's no way that he can keep up this efficiency and busting long TD runs, and he plays 35% of the snaps, and I mean, he could have a game where he has 2 carries for 4 yards and 2 catches for 20.
Most certainly, he will have that game several times this year.
Yeah. So that just worries me, Dave. But you can also make a good argument for him. I mean, when he's in the game, they are feeding him the rock. Mm-hmm. There's no question. It's just, God, this efficiency that he has turned in is just, there's no way that that's going to keep up, So
David,
I'm almost like betting against him.
Would you call Percy Harvin a must-play? Because he did the same thing that Sproles did last week. He scored on one of his, like, I think he had like 4 touches last week, and he played like 20 snaps.
Right, but you got to look at like game flow there. Like, I think you look at the number of snaps that Philly gets off, and if Sproles did work in week 2, I don't understand why Chip Kelly would go away from him in week 3. Like talking to Drew Dinkmeyer, he's under the assumption that Djax, who will be on the opposite side, is like basically Sproles is kind of assuming a little bit of that role that Djax had last year. So
he is.
I mean, we could very much see that role, his role being expanded. I just think for his price tag, for what he brings to that offense. Now they could just obviously. I don't think McCoy was very happy last week. Even after the W, he certainly didn't seem thrilled. So they might try to appease him. But it's interesting that both of you don't really like him this week. I mean, my feelings aren't hurt. I'll still be.
I mean, it's just crazy how 2 smart football people can arrive at the same conclusion. And
well, yeah,
my dad just texted me and said that Sproles is locked in his DraftKings lineup too. So.
I mean, you can make a good argument either way, honestly. And the game has a high over-under. I think it's the second highest over-under of the week, 50.5. Sproles is just not a guy that he's not. I'm not using it, but it's not necessarily a bad play.
I mean, just like would you rather use Darren Sproles or Joik Bell or Rashad Jennings? Like, two running backs who handle like a huge portion of their team's work, and you know are going to get at least 12 touches, no matter how bad the game script gets. Those guys are going to get 12 touches. Sproles, even if the game goes perfectly for him, won't get 12. He'll just have a long touchdown.
All right, so you got to pick one. You got to pick one, Jennings or Bell.
I'll go Bell just because I think Green Bay's defense is atrocious.
Okay, and you'll give me 0.2 points with Sproles because he's $200 more.
Yeah,
So-
I'll give you 0.2 points.
Okay, so here's the bet: Sproles plus 0.2 more than Joik Bell this week. Okay, I think they're both good plays, and I think Rashad Jennings is a decent play. Jennings, honestly, kind of scares me though. I would rather a guy like Sproles in that explosive offense, who is an explosive player. You see the way he pinballed in that end zone last week? Come on now. So, okay, so
Jennings. It's explosive too, though.
You're not.
Jennings can play.
Oh, come on, Davis.
He's so old.
I
mean,
gosh.
I don't like him. I don't like him for seasonal fantasy or anything, but daily, at that price when he's gonna get so many touches is fine.
So old.
He is so old.
Yeah, well, no, he was explosive 5 years ago, though, is what Davis was saying.
Yeah.
So, okay, we'll put... I know, because you don't pay off your bets, so if they're embarrassing, so we'll put 10 on it.
Okay.
10 jelly beans. All right, so speaking of Percy Harvin, let's talk about that game. Demaryius Thomas, cheap on DraftKings. Evan, he obviously has a tough matchup, but you know that Peyton's going to be trying to get him the ball. So, because he's had 2 subpar weeks, so you know he's going to be trying to get him the ball.
Wait, who?
Demaryius Thomas.
He was good last week. Dave.
I mean, what is...
Are you trying to spin the narrative that he wasn't good so you can look right?
No, I'm not doing that at all.
Davis, you weren't here last week, and
he
Dave
had 5
was
catches for
anti-Demaryius.
he had 5 catches for 62 yards.
I have to deal with these guys every day. And him and Ben Pritchett, our college football writer, they were in our Skype chat just calling him Drops Thomas and saying he had mental issues. Man, you would not believe how these guys tilt, dude.
That was after week 1, and part of that is because Davis was so emphatic that Demaryius Thomas was better than Calvin Johnson this season, and you saw what Calvin Johnson did week 1. So it was an easy way to get Davis tilted. Here's the thing with daily fantasy: if your team isn't doing well, you want someone else to feel that pain as well, and so you blame somebody. It's not just daily; it's also weekly. I mean, Evan, you get a lot of that as well. Not a lot of that, but if a play goes wrong, someone looks for someone to blame, and they blame you.
Oh, I get a lot of that.
So, unfortunately, it just comes with the territory. But let's not... I mean, 4 catches his first game, 5 catches his second game. I mean, you're going to call that, elite? Both of you?
Oh, my God. You got to stop, David.
Davis, you're the one... No. Davis, you're the one last week that was saying, 4 catches for 77 yards or whatever. You were the one saying that about... I don't even know who it was. Maybe...
Probably Marcus Wheaton.
Yeah, it was Wheaton. Yeah, and making fun of that. When your boy hasn't even gone over 65 yards this season.
He also had an 80-yard touchdown called back by an offensive line penalty.
Oh, and he was already out of bounds, so let's not even...
Seems like he's declining.
Go there.
Oh, stop it. Stop it, Evan.
Okay, so here's a question, though. He's 6,600, which, if he's the number 1 receiver, as you say, Davis, is he a lock for you?
Not in cash.
Oh! Whoa!
Why would I do
Hedging.
that? Why?
He's hedging.
I'm not hedging.
If Calvin Johnson was
I would never play an offensive skill position player against Seattle in cash unless they were literally a DraftKings pricing error free.
If Calvin Johnson was 6,600 on DraftKings, everyone would absolutely take him. No matter
that would
what.
be awesome when they got 7 catches for 84 yards and no touchdowns.
You just did it. You just did exactly what I was saying.
What?
7 catches for 84 yards, like you act like the touchdown is really what pushed him over the edge of being elite. Come on. Anyways, Davis, I'm done with you about Demarius. Evan, I want to get your take on it.
I mean, I like him. I think that the best way for the Broncos to attack the Seahawks D, and they did this in the Super Bowl, especially in the second half, is throw bubble screens to Demarius, because he's the best run after catch receiver in the NFL, and they've already shown that they've had success. I mean, you don't want to go throw jump balls to Demarius Thomas when he's being defended by Byron Maxwell and Richard Sherman. That's just not smart, because those corners are almost as big as he is, and they know how they have great ball skills. So I think I considered using Demarius Thomas. I'm not going to use him, but I strongly considered it. I'm just going with Calvin, and I locked in Julio last night, and Calvin and Jordy.
Dang, what's the rest of your squad if you lock those 3 in?
Kyrie and Jeremy Hill, man.
Yeah, Kyrie and Jeremy Hill, dude.
You had to go Russell Wilson and cheap tight end to get all 3 of those receivers in there.
And I'm not paying up for D this week.
Okay, well, that's fine. I don't think you have to pay up for D. Which defense did you use?
I don't know. Saints or Miami, I think. Saints, maybe?
Yeah. Well, it's a good week if you don't have to pay up for D.
Don't like Davis? Paying up for D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm all aboard the Saints train. I have them in like every lineup. Matt Castle, that game last week was one of the most offensive things I have ever viewed on television in my life.
So you're not using CPAT anywhere?
No, I'm still using CPAT in tournaments.
Okay.
Because he doesn't need Matt Castle to be good to have a good game. He can take one handoff, one bubble screen, and boom, 15 DraftKings points. Because he's explosive in space.
All right, let's talk about tight ends now.
With very impressive hip fluidity.
Very impressive hip fluidity.
You know who does not have impressive hip fluidity? Steven Jackson.
No, he's so done.
Last night, it was painful watching him.
Yeah, it hurts.
I keep getting start-sit questions on Twitter about Steven Jackson. People keep asking, yo, Steven Jackson or Lamar Miller. It's what do you expect? You want to find the one fantasy analyst on this earth who still believes in Steven Jackson?
Was Leone asking you about Steven Jackson? He definitely did the Leone voice.
No, he was asking me about Sammy Watkins.
All right, so, Sammy, yeah. Speaking of tight ends, who do you like at tight end this week, Evan?
Oh, I'm paying up for the tight ends, no doubt. Jimmy Graham. I said to play Kelsey last week. That went okay. I mean, he returned value, but he didn't really, go off. So that was a little disappointing.
And what did we talk about last week, Evan? You want to remind people what we talked about the tight ends?
I can't remember.
Are you serious? We talked about how it's not just about value at tight ends.
Right. Exactly.
And that you might want to pay up for Jimmy Graham this week.
And we talked about paying up for Jimmy Graham last week, and that that was money, and I think he's going to be money again this week. I mean, anytime you get Breeze and Graham at home in the Superdome, the Graham Breeze stack is in play. Anytime.
Yeah, and I think the Breeze Graham stack is probably going to be the foundation of a bunch of really good tournament lineups this weekend. And I don't think Jimmy Graham is a bad play, but just I'm going to either have to stomach fading Jordy / Calvin or going uber cheap with Kyrie and Jeremy Hill or Terrence West at my running backs and not having any elite running backs get him in.
What about Niles? I feel like he can easily fit into the conversation. I'll bring Dan in for this question. Dan joining us a little bit late, but that's what happens with dad life sometimes. You've got Jordan Reed, who's not going to be playing this week. They've already announced it. So he seems like he fits in a lot of my lineups real easily against that in a high-scoring game against Philly this week.
Yeah, you obviously, if you're just going on the past 2 weeks and the targets he's received, I mean, just going on that, he's worth his price tag alone. If he gets any sort of opportunity that's kind of at that same level. A guy I actually find myself going to is going to be in the same situation as Niles Paul, and that's playing from behind, and that would be Kyle Rudolph. I like him, I think, more than Niles Paul. I think the defense he's going against, I don't trust the Saints against the tight end as much as I trust the Eagles. Middle linebacker, who is his name for the Eagles?
Hendricks, but he's out.
Oh, is he out? Yeah, that's going to change things because he's got a pretty good pass coverage score. Yeah, that's going to change things a little bit, but I do like Rudolph. I think he can be added to the discussion or the conversation if you're looking for a low-end tight end.
Evan, what about you as far as cheap tight ends?
Not even. I'm just gramming all.
How are you gonna? I don't understand how you're gramming it with all these, like.
He's got Kyrie and Jeremy Hill.
No, what about What about?
I'm not
Jared
paying
Cook,
that for
though?
D.
No, JJ Zacharyson loves Jared Cook this week. Loves it.
I really thought it was going to be a one-show thing this week with JJ, going to be the only one bringing him up. So, Davis, I don't know why you're bringing him up too.
Oh, because JJ's been needling me for like the last 35 minutes on GChat to bring him up because he thinks he's such a good play this week. Like he I think has him at number 2 in his Fantasy Pros tight end rankings this week.
Wow.
Like, and I mean Jared Cook is basically Delaney Walker, right? Like, so
no, don't even put him in Delaney Walker's category.
Delaney Walker's way better.
He'll get Delaney Walker will actually get like production. Like Jared Cook is
a myth.
Yeah.
He's a myth.
Good luck.
Good luck, man.
He's a
Good luck, JJ.
I mean, for real though, he's actually not a bad play though.
Well, Vernon Davis shredded the Cowboys in Week 1, and then Delaney Walker did it last week. So logically thinking,
and McLean is questionable.
Yep.
So
doubtful. He's doubtful actually.
Doubtful, yeah. So if there's a week that Jared Cook is going to do his one good year a game, it's going to be this one.
Do we care who's quarterbacking? Does it even matter when we're talking about Sean Hill or Austin Davis?
No, they're both bad.
Yeah. Because there's still, I mean, it's looking like it's going to be Davis, but I think that's one of the most overlooked things I've seen this week in just different articles and columns with people assuming that Sean Hill is going to sit. It sounds like he's more or less going to be a true game time decision, unless I'm seeing that incorrectly.
I think Austin Davis is starting. I think.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the ultimate thing that happens. But I know Hill's practiced limited the past couple days.
Ertz, also a decent option. I feel like Vernon Davis on DK this week is a decent option. I feel like on FanDuel, what I'm kind of leaning towards either Graham or Niles, and on DraftKings, I'm kind of leaning towards either Vernon Davis or Niles. Like, I'm a big Niles fan this week.
Niles is overpriced on DraftKings.
Yeah, you can't play him on DraftKings. He's the 5th most expensive tight end there. That's giving away value.
$100 more for Gronk?
Oh, yeah, no. I'm sorry. Gronk on DraftKings.
Yeah. I mean, we should talk about that. Like, do you think they give him, like, the ceremonial touchdown against the Raiders? Like, or do you think they go the other way and put him in bubble wrap because they don't need him? Like, I think that's actually kind of a hard question to answer. What do you think, Evan?
Yeah, that's my kind of fear with him. I in a redraft league, I'm debating whether to start Rob Gronkowski or Niall Davis. You know, of course, it's contingent on Jamal Charles' status, but I've had Niall Davis in there. Just a little, I expressed some concern about Rob Gronkowski last week, and I still have those same concerns. And this is a game where they can. I mean, it's like a preseason game basically, playing the Raiders. It's like an exhibition game. You just walk right over it. It's like a bye week. And Rob Gronkowski doesn't need to go out there, and at the same time, he might have 3 touchdowns. I mean, let's be real. But I'm not dailying him this week.
Yeah, I don't even think you can do it on DraftKings either. Like, I know that price is insane, but for cash to rely on a tight end who's going to play half the snaps and doesn't look like he's fully healthy yet, I don't know. Like, I'll admit I made that mistake last week, and like I was in the position of cheering for 3-yard gains in the second half. Like, that's not what you want. Like, you don't want to be in that situation with a guy you paid $6,000 for.
We did have some questions about the health of both Rudolph and Vernon Davis. Evan, can you give us any insight to that?
Vernon Davis, I don't think is going to play.
Okay.
Very, very small chance. And then the other guy, who's the other guy? Rudolph?
Yep.
He should be fine, I think.
It's like an abdominal injury, but he's been practicing.
Okay.
Limited, I think.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, any other thoughts about tight end?
What do you think about Derek Carrier? If Vernon Davis sits for a tournament, Evan, he's got like crazy measurables.
Oh God.
Yeah, dude. 6'3", 238, 38-inch vertical, 4.5 flat.
Can we just point out that Davis's 2 measurable guys so far have been Kelsey and Ladarius Green at tight end this year, and both.
And Sankey.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about like tight end, like.
Right.
Yeah, Kelsey was fine last week.
He was solid. He returned value, right, Dave?
You want to know a tight end who's a measurables guy? Niles Paul was a former college wide receiver.
I know.
Ran a 4.5 flat.
Okay, so that's why I like him though, is because he did play receiver. So that's like different. Like, I'm recommending him, not you. I'm saying the guy
he scored a bunch of punt returns at Nebraska. Scored a bunch of TDs on punt returns.
Yeah.
So Derek Carrier is apparently from the town that I'm currently living in.
Oh wow!
Well, you gotta play.
You
gotta play him.
Attorney.
I pulled up his page because I don't know a whole lot about him, and yep, there you go, Edgerton, Wisconsin.
What does Vernon Davis being out mean for that San Francisco offense, Evan?
At this point, the Arizona D still does just not scare me at all, especially with John Abraham. So I wouldn't really look at it like that. I mean, does it hurt? Yes. He's a seam runner. He's great in the red zone, and he's a really good blocker. So it's not good news for the offense. But I think that they're going to have to move the ball with the pass in this game, and I think that they will, especially with the Cardinals really they can't bring any pass rush at this stage. I think Colin Kaepernick might have a decent game. Michael Crabtree owns Patrick Peterson historically. I mean, just works him. And Bolden has done great against the Cardinals ever since they traded him. So I think Kaepernick has a nice game. I would, again, I'm all in on Breeze this week in daily. But, in redraft, I think Colin Kaepernick's a fine start.
Yeah, both he and Russell Wilson are like the kind of the cheaper options. But we've seen the first 2 weeks how the cheaper options do. First week was Sean Hill. Last week, everyone was on Locker as a guy. So
that is ugly.
Sometimes you just want to pay up for your quarterbacks. No late round QBs. You want first round QBs.
Let's be very clear, though, that we all agreed that Sean Hill was not an option in week 1.
Yeah, he was not.
No one on this show or involved with either of our corporate entities said that he was acceptable.
Yeah, our closing statement at the end of the show was, do not start Sean Hill.
Yeah, but
you can't do it, man.
So does Cousins make it 3 in a row where low-priced quarterbacks don't put out?
Tuttle, are you considering him?
I'm not personally. I don't think I think Stafford to Breeze is closer than you guys do. So I see myself on one of the two. But no, I think with those 2 options, and then I think Rodgers is third. I think those 3. There's no reason to go with Cousins, especially with the different cheap options both at running back and quarterback that you can get in there.
That's what I said earlier. I mean, you're basically saying exactly what I said. Those guys.
Oh, geez, sorry. I had to take care of my kid.
I'm saying like Davis was saying, it's just Breeze. Like, oh, Breeze, if you don't take Breeze, you're a big dummy. And that's. I don't think it's that cut and dry.
I mean,
it wouldn't be
Vegas
Davis absolutes.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, Vegas agrees with me that Breeze is a better play than Stafford.
Okay.
Because of a point total?
Yeah.
Or do you actually have prop bets?
Or do you have a prop bet?
Lines that you're going to pull? Because, I mean, a point total is not going to tell you a whole lot.
Are props out yet? They weren't this morning when I looked.
No, but you can't take it over-under and say, okay, hey, this team is projected to have 3 more points in the team total. That means this quarterback's
if you look
better
at how
play
the team,
because of Vegas.
You can do that if your name is
scores
Davis
points. You can just break it down by. You can just break down points scored by how many percentages of points have they scored passing.
So you've clearly done that. So what is it?
No, I haven't done it, but I guarantee it. Breeze will come out looking better. This is a conversation for you and I to argue about later, though.
Yeah, because no one's gonna concede either. It's just gonna be
never.
Straight
It's
up
not
argument.
happen.
All right. Sometimes with daily fantasy sites, they have a very large player pool. They don't whittle it down, and so it takes people like me a long time to have to edit that roster when you click the export to CSV button. We do have on our site now for premium members a merge salaries tool, and so if you do your own projections, spreadsheets, whatever, you can, for premium members, you can go to the tools and click merge salaries, which has got one player, then all 4 salaries across the top 4 sites. However, we're going to play a little game, and it's going to be Dan and Davis versus Evan. So Dan and Davis versus Evan. And the game is, I'm going to name a player, and you tell me what team he's listed as. And most of these guys are not going to be on the current roster, but they're still in the player pool. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yeah, Evan's going to kill us.
Kamar Jordan.
Vikings.
It's going to be... I mean, we should just say, like, can Evan get to 5 before...
Wait, hold on. Are these all players on the offensive side of the ball?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, all right.
I just told you, these are coming from a daily fantasy site's player pool.
Okay.
Don't listen sometimes. Kevin Ozier.
Steelers?
Ozier.
Ozier. Oh, man, I don't know.
Cardinals.
Mr. Google has it with the Cardinals. That was so cheating. All right.
Yeah, you can't Google.
Yeah, you cannot.
Jeez,
you cannot Google. LaColton Bester.
Colts.
Yeah, he was a wide receiver. I know that name for some reason.
Texans. We're gonna give it to Davis just because he said a wide receiver, and he is a wide receiver. Let's see. We've got Michael Zordich.
He's a fullback.
Yep, he is. For
swag.
No idea, man. I don't know. Texans?
The Panthers.
Okay.
Let's see. 2 more. We'll go with Ronnie Wingo. That sounds like a cool name.
Bills.
He is, in fact,
Damn, Evan.
with the Bills. And last but not least, Tory Gurley.
Browns.
Yeah, is it Tori?
Yep.
He was a wide receiver. But he got cut and someone else signed him.
The Bills.
There you go. But yeah, he was on the Browns, so that point should go to Evan Probs.
Well, no, you said wide receiver though, and Evan didn't say wide receiver.
See, all the wide receivers I'll know because they're in all my spreadsheets, but I won't know any of the other guys.
Okay, then who's Terrence Tolliver play for?
Terrence Tolliver. I don't know.
He's
I know
last
Anthony
with the
Tolliver.
Bears.
He's with
He's
the
on
Bears.
IR, I think.
Yep, he's with the Bears. So don't say you know all the wide receivers.
Dan knows Anthony
Anthony
Tolliver.
Yep. Shit, right in those threes.
Hey, could we get Tuttle's opinion on Niall Davis if he starts?
Yeah, we can.
Because he wasn't around for that.
I think there's more risk than what Davis brings on. I still think if Charles is out, he's purely a volume play, so I think he's definitely a safe option. But I guess, I mean, this isn't gonna surprise Davis, but I'm in the middle on him. I'm basically in the middle of you guys. I think he's a safe play just based on volume alone, which is what Evan kind of said.
The only opinion Dan has is that I'm an idiot.
That's true. That's about there is. Your absolute statements.
Yeah.
Reading some of the chat, Max says someone mentioned Jermaine Curse. See if you can summon Gindy. Yeah, Gindy is like the.
He's coming in chat like, bro, dude, bro.
It's
Jermaine
like
Curse gonna score a touchdown, bro.
Curse. I'm telling you, the Curse this week. The play. He's the play this week. Don't even play anybody else. It's Curse and everybody else.
I will say another hot topic that I listened to while I was watching my son is Sproles is a bad play this week, and I can say that because my cat's name is Sproles.
Yeah.
So
Dave does this though, man. Like Dave keeps his opinions real close to the vest, and then when he has one,
we just bash him.
It's one, and it's also mystifying. It's also always a mystifying opinion.
I don't see how your dad agreed with me. Your dad, who gave you life, agreed with me.
I play my dad in seasonal this week, but I have Matt Asiata, so I'm guaranteed a W.
Swag. I'm just saying Sproles for that price tag. I don't have a problem with going like all three of those guys in the middle and just going on DraftKings for cash games.
You missed the Eagles running back that is a nice price on DraftKings, and that's LaShawn McCoy. Anytime he's not top priced running back.
I said that he is he's a decent play this week, especially if they give him the carries. And
I want Evan's opinion on that because I think he's gonna be one of the most overlooked stars this week, and I think he's set up for a monster game against the Redskins.
I was going to say the same thing. Monster game, use the exact same terminology. I agree. If I'm paying up for a running back, LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah. Because, I mean, the Redskins shut down Toby Gerhardt for 8 yards?
That doesn't mean anything.
Exactly. I mean...
Weren't you on Gerhardt for a little bit? Just tell me that I was not stupid to be on Gerhardt.
Last week?
No, not in daily. In redraft.
Oh, I still like him.
Okay.
In redraft. I think he's going to come around, dude.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Well, as long as we're on the same page on that. By the way, also everyone, for the rest of the time, Dan Gaspar will now be referred to as Nickelback.
I love it.
I'm googling like a little schoolgirl because Barstool Prophet says, "First time viewer, great job, guys. I enjoyed it. Too bad Nickelback showed up late, but I have kids too. I get it." Oh, that's good stuff.
Good.
Anyways, I love how Sproles is a bad play, but Hill is a good play for you guys. Screw you guys.
Totally different roles.
I look at both of them. Who is a better bet for a touchdown?
Yup.
Okay, but you also had them saying that it's going to be like the hot hand approach with potentially with the Bengals. So
yeah, that favors Hill because if he gets
does
hot,
because he's better than Gio.
Well, I'm not like Evan. I'm not crazy here. Gio is still really good. But if Hill gets hot, and Hill is like a rhythm guy, like if he gets in on a drive and he's like, that's a dude who you don't pull him out. Like you just let him keep pounding, if you will.
Of course, you're taking the stance like if he does get hot, like yes, like that's what riding the hot hand is. So yeah, if he gets hot, that's fine.
Well, I'm saying he's a guy who is prone to getting hot.
He might go nuts.
Go nuts.
He might, or he might not.
Beast.
Before we leave, Dan, your thoughts on Demaryius Thomas? Does Peyton try to get him more involved this week to get over 60 yards?
Oh my God! I'm gonna rage quit Fantasy Insiders.
I'm not even gonna bother with that one.
Okay.
Not an elite receiver. Not an elite NFL receiver,
In
obviously.
decline.
If he can't get to 60 yards against Seattle.
I am playing him this week. He and Calvin are in all my cash games right now.
Okay,
on DK.
Okay, well, when you are entering in a cash lineup with Darren Sproles and a skill position player against Seattle, and you don't convert at a high ratio, I don't know who you're going to tilt to, who's going to feel sympathetic.
Okay.
Because it's not going to be Dan and I.
Davis, by the way, I'm looking at updated lines right now. The Patriots have a team total of 30 compared to the Saints 29. So that means Tom Brady. Vegas is
Okay.
telling me
All
Tom
right.
Brady's a better player, right?
Hey,
Can we apply like just like a poco of common sense?
oh, do you,
Actually, Brady is in play on DraftKings, so I want to say that.
Okay.
Davis? Did you see any player speak this week that you want to kind of mention?
Oh my god.
Someone say
any players feeling good? They're gonna bust
that
out.
they're going to be better this week, and so you want to play them.
In the best shape of their life.
Oh yeah. Oh, Davis loves taking players that like tell reporters stuff.
So one time, this pitcher told a very well respected baseball writer that his elbow that had been hurting felt okay.
It wasn't just a writer; it was a well-respected.
It was a well-respected writer, not just a writer.
Yeah, and by the way, he went out and had a good game. And Dan and David have never let me forget that one time I let a player speak influence my lineups.
No, that was David. I was actually on your side on that one. I played Keuchel that night.
Yeah. But I don't care that Cecil Shorts said that you should start him in fantasy this week. I also don't care that Chris Johnson has ever said to play him in fantasy either.
Hey, let me mention some punt types in tournaments.
Okay.
Guys that I've been thinking about. Aaron Dobson against the Raiders. You know, again, this is like an exhibition game, and I feel like the Patriots are going to give him a lot of snaps. He's 6'3", 210. You know, he runs 4.37. They need him. I mean, they told us how they feel about Kimbrel Tompkins. They benched him after one game, and then the other guy, LaFell, is just awful. So I think this will be the kind of this will be their opportunity to give him a lot of snaps. He'll be out on the field a lot, I think, and he's really, really cheap. And we mentioned Devontae Adams. One other guy, Kelvin Benjamin, against the Steelers.
I think Kelvin is gonna be a pretty high-owned player this week.
Okay, that makes sense. Because Ike Taylor is done, and Cortez Allen, their other corner, has also struggled.
Yeah.
They can't get pass rush. Cam looked great last week.
And you don't have to worry about quarterback play because you saw Benjamin also go off without Cam playing.
Yeah. Yeah, and also
he's awesome. He's awesome.
Yeah, Benjamin is.
I want Evan's take on Torrey Smith. Is this the week?
A whiff, man.
Bro, he is so cheap.
5,200 on FanDuel, 4,500 on DraftKings. It's tempting for a GPP.
Yep, I told you my three wide receivers right now: Calvin, Torrey, and Demarius. Those are my three receivers.
On DraftKings?
Yep. So currently.
So Evan, I'm taking it you would like Dobson's 1,500 cheaper than Torrey Smith on DraftKings. I'm taking it you'd go that route.
I just think that no one's going to be using Dobson. And I guess no one would be using Torrey either, so that's not really good.
People are going to be using Torrey on FanDuel for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually have him in my DraftKings.
And DK. I do think you're going to see him. Another cheap guy. I'm still kind of. This is the week where everybody gets off the bandwagon, and I stay on, and I reap the ridiculous rewards that Justin Hunter brings me. Everyone's gonna get off.
I'm playing Justin Hunter too.
He does not have a good matchup, but you look as a guy like him under 4K on DraftKings, he presents a lot of upside. All it takes is one long pass, and he's in the end zone. So
totally, I think his matchup actually is a little bit better than you're giving credit for. He's going to run a lot of routes against Pac-Man Jones.
Pac-Man going to get
who's old,
torched.
Yeah, I mean. Pac-Man gave up that 80-yard TD to 90-year-old Steve Smith in Week 1.
Yeah.
And he gave up another big play last week. I agree. Justin Hunter is very interesting. Well, he's always going to be interesting, probably, every single week.
Yeah, because he's awesome.
That will do it for the show.
Slow jams.
This song is by Muse, one of my favorite college bands. It's called Madness, and it kind of sums up the show. because this show is absolute madness. So thanks to Evan Silva from Roto World for being our special guest on the Insiders TV show, sponsored by Fantasy Elite. If you don't have anything better to do than this weekend, which we know you don't, draft college football and pro games all the way up to the late afternoon games after lineups lock. Also tonight we have our college football show, 11 p.m. Eastern, with Natural Slugger doing all sorts of hot takes. And then we have our premium content available. Go to fantasyinsiders.com/NFL/premium. So that will do it. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you later. Wow, 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 wow.